Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today by picking a fight with a concept most of us just accept as true.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
We all assume that to be good with money,
Hmm.
investing, saving, all that, you have to be smart, like really smart.
Right. You need the formulas, the spreadsheets, an MBA, maybe.
Exactly. But what if that's just completely wrong?
It's a bold way to start, but you're onto something. We treat finance like it's physics.
Yeah, like it has laws.
Exactly. Like there are these immutable laws, and if you know the formula for gravity, the apple falls the same way every single time. But finance, it isn't physics. It's not a hard science.
Okay, so if it's not a hard science, what is it?
Yeah.
If I can't pay my mortgage, soft skills aren't going to feel very helpful.
But it is a soft skill, and that's the whole argument of the source material for today, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel.
Right.
His entire premise is that doing well with money has very little to do with how smart you are and, well, everything to do with how you behave.
So you could be a genius but still go broke.
A genius can absolutely go broke if they lose control of their emotions. And on the other hand, an ordinary person with no financial training can retire wealthy.
Just by behaving better.
Just by mastering a few behavioral quirks. Yeah.
I have to admit, that sounds a little like a pep talk. I'm skeptical. Are we really saying that a janitor can outperform a Wall Street trader?
We are. And Housel has the data to prove it. Today we're going to unpack why no one is crazy when it comes to money, even when their decisions look insane to us.
Okay.
We'll talk about the role of sheer dumb luck that nobody wants to admit and the stunning math of compounding that our brains are just not built to grasp.
Let's start with that first one then. No one is crazy. Because honestly, I look at how some people handle their money day trading meme stocks, burying cash in the backyard, and crazy is definitely the first word that jumps to mind.
It feels crazy to you, but that's because you're looking at it through the lens of your life, your experience. Housel makes this incredible point. He says your personal experience with money is maybe, what, 0.00001% of what's happened in the world?
A tiny fraction.
A tiny fraction, but it makes up something like 80% of how you think the world works.
So we're all just trapped in our own little historical bubbles.
Completely, and it's almost impossible to break out. Think about the stock market. If you were born in, say, 1970, the S&P 500 went up almost tenfold during your teens and 20s.
So that's your formative period. You see stocks as this wealth machine.
It's a no-brainer. Of course you invest in stocks. It works.
And what about someone else?
Okay, now take someone born in 1950. During their teens and 20s, the market went nowhere. It was flat for almost 2 decades.
2 decades.
After inflation, they made nothing. So when that person looks at the market, they don't see an opportunity. They see a casino.
So when the 1950 person keeps their money in cash, the 1970 person thinks they're an idiot for missing a boom.
Exactly, but they're not an idiot. They're just working with a totally different set of emotional scars. You can show them a spreadsheet, sure, but a spreadsheet doesn't cancel out the memory of watching your parents' savings just stagnate for 20 years.
That makes so much sense. It's like trying to tell someone who grew up in a famine that they should throw out expired food. The logic doesn't land.
That's a perfect analogy. The experience trumps the logic. So these behaviors aren't crazy, they're just personal.
Which brings us to another thing we all hate to admit. Luck. I feel like in finance, we love to pretend success is 100% skill and hard work.
It's just more comfortable that way, isn't it? If I tell you that you're successful because you got lucky, it feels like I'm taking something away from you.
Right, like I didn't earn it.
But the source material just demolishes this idea with the story of Bill Gates.
Ah, the Lakeside School story. I think I know this one.
It's a classic. So Bill Gates is obviously a genius. No one is arguing that.
Yeah.
But in 1968, he went to Lakeside School in Seattle.
And it was one of the only high schools in the world with a computer.
In the world. It wasn't just rare. It was a statistical miracle. We're talking about a time when most universities didn't have that kind of access.
And here are these 13-year-olds just messing around with a computer.
Right. And Housel does the math. There were about 303 million high school-age people in the world in 1968. Only about 300 of them went to Lakeside. That's 1 in a million luck.
But that's not even the part that hit me the hardest. It's the other side of that coin, the risk side. Tell us about Kent Evans.
This is the part of the story most people don't know. Kent Evans was Gates's best friend. According to Gates himself, Kent was the smartest kid in the class.
Okay.
Just as smart, just as driven, just as obsessed with that computer. They were going to start companies together.
So they were on the exact same path.
Identical path. But before they graduated, Kent Evans died in a mountaineering accident. He was 17.
Row.
The odds of a high school student dying in a mountaineering accident,
Where?
roughly 1 in a million.
So you have 1 in a million good luck for Gates and 1 in a million bad luck for Evans.
Exactly. Luck and risk are siblings. They're two sides of the same coin. Same starting line, completely different outcomes, driven by things that were totally out of their control.
That's genuinely terrifying. It totally undermines how we worship successful people. We see the result and assume the process was perfect.
When maybe the process was just don't die on a mountain, it forces you to be humble about your own success and have compassion for other people's failures.
But let's say you do get lucky. The stock pops, you get the promotion. The book argues that's when a new trap appears. The trap of never enough.
This is what destroys people. The goalpost just keeps moving, you hit your goal, and you don't feel satisfaction. You just look at the next person on the ladder.
The story of Rajat Gupta is a perfect example of this. This guy was the CEO of McKinsey. He was worth $100 million.
$100 million? I mean, in my book, that you won the game.
You won. Game over. But he was hanging out with billionaires. And compared to them, he felt poor.
Poor. With $100 million.
It sounds absurd. But relative poverty is a powerful drug. He wanted to be a billionaire so badly that he started insider trading.
And got caught, went to prison, reputation destroyed.
He risked everything he had and everything he needed for something he didn't have and didn't need.
That is the core of greed, but it all comes from envy. There's this great test for it, actually. Let me ask you.
Okay.
Would you rather have $10 million, but everyone in your social circle has $20 million? Or would you rather have $3 million, but you know for a fact that no one else has more than $4 million?
Logically, I should take the 10 million. It's way more money. But my gut says the 3 million scenario feels better.
And that's how most people answer. We are wired for social comparison more than absolute wealth. If you can't get that goalpost to stop moving, you will never, ever feel wealthy.
So the hardest financial skill isn't picking stocks. It's knowing when to stop.
It's defining enough.
Now, speaking of things our brains are bad at, we have to talk about compounding. I feel like everyone knows the word, but the book argues we don't actually feel it. We can't intuitively grasp it.
No, we can't. Our brains think linearly, 1, 2, 3, 4. But compounding is exponential. 2, 4, 8, 16. The numbers just get crazy so fast, it breaks our intuition.
The Warren Buffett stat is the best example.
It's the perfect example. He's worth over $100 billion. But how much of that fortune came after his 65th birthday?
I know this one, and it still just blows my mind every time. It's something like 90%, right?
It's $97 billion. Over 90% of his entire net worth was accumulated after he was eligible for Social Security.
That shouldn't even be possible.
It's only possible because he started investing when he was 10 years old.
When?
He's been compounding for 80 years. If he had just been a normal person, started investing at 30 and retired at 60 with the exact same annual returns, he wouldn't be a billionaire. He'd be worth maybe $11 million.
So the real secret isn't just that he's a genius investor, which he is.
No, the secret is that he's been a genius investor since he was a child. The variable that matters most is time.
Let's make that more concrete. The book has a great thought experiment.
Yeah, with the two investors. So you have investor A. She starts saving at 25. She puts in $10,000 a year for just 10 years. Then at 35, she stops. Never adds another dime.
Okay, so she's put in $100,000 total.
Right. So investor B, he starts at 35 the year she stopped. He saves the same $10,000 a year, but he keeps going all the way to 65.
So he invests for 30 years, $300,000 total.
3 times as much money, but assuming a 7% return for both, investor A still ends up with more money at age 65.
Wait, what? She put in 1/3 of the cash, but ends up with more.
Yeah.
Just because she started 10 years earlier.
Yeah. That's it. That first decade of money had 10 extra years to double and then double again and again. It was doing all the heavy lifting. The money investor B puts in at 40 or 50 just can't catch up.
That is unbelievably frustrating if you're starting late.
It is, but the lesson isn't it's too late. The lesson is that you don't need the highest returns to win. You just need pretty good returns that you can sustain for the longest possible period of time. You have to stay in the game.
Staying in the game. That sounds simple, but the book makes a really good point that getting wealthy and staying wealthy are not the same thing.
They're completely different skills, polar opposites almost.
How so?
Getting wealthy requires optimism, taking risks, putting yourself out there. But staying wealthy, that requires paranoia.
Paranoia, that sounds a little extreme.
It's a healthy paranoia. It's the humility to know that everything you've gained can be taken away in an instant. It's understanding that the look we talked about earlier can flip into risk at any moment.
Like with the trader, Jesse Livermore.
The perfect tragic example. He was one of the greatest traders of all time. In 1929, when the market crashed and everyone was ruined, he shorted it. He made $100 million in a day.
So he definitely had the getting rich part figured out.
He was the master, but he couldn't switch to staying rich mode. He kept making bigger and bigger bets, assuming his luck would hold.
And it didn't?
Within 4 years, he lost everything, died broke. He didn't have that survival mindset.
He didn't have a margin of safety.
Exactly. To stay wealthy, you have to be a short-term pessimist, saving for the disaster you know is coming so that you can be a long-term optimist.
So if we're playing for the long term, how do we deal with being wrong? Because I'm going to pick bad stocks. Everyone does.
And that's totally fine. This is the idea of tails you win. It's one of the most liberating concepts in the whole book.
Okay, explain that. How can I be wrong half the time and still come out ahead?
Because of outliers. The tails on the distribution curve. In the stock market, most companies are just meh. Some are awful and go to zero. But a tiny, tiny fraction of them generate these astronomical returns that pay for all the losers.
This is that stat about the 7% of companies, right?
Yeah. Since 1980, something like 40% of all the stock market's returns came from just 7% of companies.
So if I'm out there picking individual stocks, my odds of finding one of those 7% are really low.
That's why it's so hard. This is the whole argument for just buying an index fund. If you try to pick the winners, you will probably miss the tails. And if you miss the tails, your returns are toast. But if you buy the whole index, the whole haystack, you are guaranteed to own the needles.
Even though I'm buying all the losers too.
You are. You're buying the companies that go bankrupt. But the winners, the Googles, the Amazons, they go up so much, thousands of percent, that they completely erase the losses from the companies that went to zero. The most you can lose on a stock is 100%. The most you can gain is basically infinite.
That's a huge mental relief. It means I don't have to be perfect.
You don't. You just need to be diversified enough to catch the winners when they take off.
Okay, so we've covered luck, compounding, survival. But what's it all for? Why are we even doing this? The book has a definition of wealth that I really connected with. It's not about cars and watches.
No, it's the freedom chapter. The highest form of wealth is simply the ability to wake up every single morning and say, I can do whatever I want today.
It all comes down to control.
All the psychology research is clear on this. Having control over your time and your life is the single biggest predictor of happiness. Way more than a big salary.
So you could have a high-powered executive making $500,000 a year, but they're chained to their desk 12 hours a day.
Right. And then you have someone making $50,000 a year, but they can leave work at 3 to pick up their kids and spend the afternoon in their garden. Who's actually wealthier?
The person with control over their time.
The person with control. Money's only real value is as a tool to buy you time and options.
Which leads right into the man in the car paradox. I have to say, I felt personally attacked by this part.
It's a painful one, but it's so true. The paradox is this. When you see someone driving a really fancy car, like a Ferrari, you don't look at the driver and think, wow, that guy's so cool.
No, you don't even see the driver.
You ignore the driver, you look at the car, and you imagine yourself driving it.
So the driver spent all that money to get my admiration, but he's just a prop in my own daydream.
That's it exactly. He thinks he's getting respect, but people are just respecting the object. Humility and kindness will get you more respect than horsepower ever will.
And this all points to maybe the most important distinction in the book. The difference between being rich and being wealthy.
Which I think most people use as synonyms.
I know I did, but they're almost opposites.
They are. Rich is a current income. It's visible. You drive a $100,000 car, we can see you're rich. Or at least you have high income or high debt. But wealth is hidden.
Wealth is what you don't see.
Wealth is the car you didn't buy. The first-class upgrade you turned down. It's the money that's still in the bank, unspent, giving you freedom and options.
That's so hard to internalize because we're visual creatures. We see someone in a nice suit and a nice car and think, that's success. I should buy those things.
But the very act of buying them depletes your wealth. You're moving money from your freedom pile to your stuff pile.
Which brings us to the last piece of this puzzle. Saving. It sounds so boring, Skip the latte. But after all this, it feels different.
It's not just about accumulating money for retirement. It's about buying a hedge against life's inevitable chaos. Remember that 1 in a million risk that hit Ken Evans?
Yeah.
Savings are your shield against that. It's what makes you resilient. If you have a high savings rate, you can survive a job loss, a market crash, a medical emergency. You become anti-fragile.
And it's the only thing you actually control. I can't control the market's returns.
Yeah.
I can't control if I get lucky, but I can control my savings rate.
Exactly. And wealth is just the gap between your ego and your income. If you can learn to be happy with less, you become wealthier without ever needing a raise.
So let's bring this all together. We've covered a ton. Behavior over brains, luck and risk, survival, compounding.
Yeah.
If someone takes one single idea away from this deep dive, what should it be?
I think it's this. Financial success isn't a hard science. It's a soft skill. It's not about what you know. It's about how you behave. It's about conquering yourself, your own greed, your own fear, your own envy. If you can just be patient and humble and not get knocked out of the game, you'll win.
You don't have to be a genius.
You just have to not be crazy.
I love that. And I want to leave everyone with one final question based on that wealth is what you don't see idea.
Go for it.
Ask yourself, are you willing to be unimpressive to the outside world? Are you willing to drive the 10-year-old car, live in the modest house, and have people think you're just doing okay, while secretly you are building a fortress of freedom and independence in the background?
That's the ultimate test, isn't it? Can you handle being wealthy without looking rich?
Something to think about. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.